This episode is brought to you by Google Gemini. With the Gemini app, you can talk live and have a real-time conversation with an AI assistant. It's great for all kinds of things, like if you want to practice for an upcoming interview, ask for advice on things to do in a new city, or brainstorm creative ideas. And by the way, this script was actually read by Gemini. Download the Gemini app for iOS and Android today. Must be 18 plus to use Gemini Live.
This episode is brought to you by Atlassian. Atlassian makes the team collaboration software that powers enterprise businesses around the world, including over 80% of the Fortune 500. With Atlassian's AI-powered software like Jira, Confluence, and Loom, you'll have more time to do the work that matters. In fact, Atlassian customers experience a 25% reduction in project duration per year. Unleash the potential of your team at Atlassian.com. Atlassian.
Welcome back, Trading Coach Podcast fans. Thank you for joining me for yet another episode. Today we're going to talk about how much data is enough data. And this was an interesting conversation that we had in our live trading room today because we had people on both sides of the argument. We had one group of traders saying that, hey, I believe that you shouldn't back tests past a certain period of time because data before that certain period of time is irrelevant, so kind of like a recency bias type of thing. While on the other side, there's a group that says, no, you need to back test past that certain period of time. That way you get experience with how your trading strategy operates and performs under different market conditions. Of course, in today's episode, I'll share with you my opinion. So enough of me blabbing, let's hop in. Lots of back testing. How long? Good old trader assessment days. I remember these days. We used to have a written trader assessment, guys, that you fill out and punish you. 5 years, 16 pairs. How many trades per pair do you think? I don't know the exact number, but per pair, how many trades you have? I don't think 5 years is going to be enough on the 4-hour time frame. You're not going to get 100 in that amount. How many per pair would you think? 40 to 50 per pair. Okay. In general, guys, and this is just speaking to anyone who backtests, if you're doing the 4-hour, 5 years is probably not going to be enough. You want to try to get to 100 pairs. 100 pairs. 100 opportunities. I don't think 40 is going to give enough information. I would try to do 10 years. Even 10 years, it might be hard to get to 100, but 10 years, you should be able to get to like 60 or 70, something like that in most cases. But I would at least do 10 years of backtesting. Trading view only one, yeah, you might need to get a different account and go further back. Invest in a different account and go further back. But I don't think 40 or 50 is enough. Now, when you say you haven't won since June, have you not won a single trade since June, or just like in a drawdown since June? Just a drawdown since June. And is it a drawdown that is different from a natural drawdown? So meaning looking at your back testing, is this drawdown different than your max drawdown throughout your testing? I don't want to seems, no seems, yes or no. And I know it's hard to, you don't have your numbers in front of you right now, but do you think do you remember what your maximum drawdown is at all? Like, is it your best guess? Do you think it is or not? And again, normally, we would go back and look at the numbers that would tell us a black or white question, but I don't expect you to have them in front of you all the time, of course. So if it seems like it is a drawdown that is greater than your max drawdown during your back testing, now it's time to investigate. So what I would do is I would go back, I would review each and every trade, right? I would review each and every trade, and I would grade them on whether they are good trades or bad trades. Good trades meaning that they check all the boxes, like you didn't do anything wrong with them, you entered the right way, exited the right way, position size was the same, or the right position size, blah, 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 and then bad trades. And you want to see, again, if it's a natural drawdown or a self-inflicted drawdown. If it's a self-inflicted drawdown, then you got to identify the mistakes, and then we have to identify solutions to those problems. How can we stop making those mistakes? And that can be the difference between, a drawdown or your max drawdown, or your abnormal drawdown, and the current drawdown. And it doesn't mean that you're going to turn it from losing to winning, but it's enough to be like, hey, if my drawdown is this, if I would have eliminated these 5 bad trades, then it would have been that, which is more normal. Or if you're doing everything correct, then you need to evaluate, has anything changed with, and this is hard because again, you only did 5 years of backtesting, but has anything changed with the market conditions that's causing this to be abnormal? Max losses in a row was 5 or 6. Now I'm approaching 10. Okay, yeah. So that's going to be double. Yeah. So that would be a level that raises some red flags. So yeah, those are the steps I would take. And if you want to take those steps, I would say come back in an accountability session. You can shoot us some examples. If you have questions about some, or even ones that you recognize, shoot it on the chat. And as a community, we can kind of tear it apart and be like, hey man, perfect. Or like, hey, did you notice that? And maybe there's something, maybe a small thing that is different in the recognition part. But I unless something is blatantly wrong, I never want to tell people that what they're seeing is wrong. You guys know that about me. But yeah, those would be the next steps. Go back, evaluate the trades, natural versus self-inflicted drawdown, and then start sharing your ideas with the community and seeing like, hey, either why am I the only one seeing these type of patterns? Or maybe you're forcing stuff once the drawdown got to a certain level, or maybe everyone's agreeing with you and be like, hey man, that's a great pattern. I just lost in that too. And at least, misery loves company. You can kind of suffer through it together until the ship is righted. But in general, for newer traders out there, if I try to back test more. Because one of the problems with not back testing a big enough sample size is you don't necessarily get to see the performance over different market conditions. And we're never going to see them over all of them, obviously, unless you go back to the beginning of time, and that's just way too far back. But sometimes the market is very streaky. And sometimes it goes on these streaks where everything is going good and your numbers are going to be inflated. Sometimes it goes on these streaks where everything is very bad and you're going to think your system is horrible because you just happen to be a bad streak. And the longer the duration that you're trading on, the longer those kind of cycles are active. Paul says, I thought over 5 years was too far back, as in conditions have changed most likely. 5 years too far back? Or not enough back? Too far back for testing on the 4 hour? Too far. 5 years over or 100 trades. Too far? Maybe I'm reading it wrong. When you say too far, I'm thinking, are you saying 5 years was like you shouldn't back test more than 5 years? Is that what you're saying? Like anything over 5 years ago is a waste of time? Like that? Yes, that's what I understand. No. Yeah, no. You should. Whenever I test and I'm 4 hour, 1 hour, I go 10 years back, if not 15. Yeah. First of all, you're not going to get a sample size going less than 5 years back, right? There's no way you're going to get enough trading opportunities if you don't. A day trader, yes, right? A day trader. But if you're trading on even an hourly maybe, but even a 4 hour especially, you're never going to get a big enough sample size going 5 years back. You're going to be lucky if you get, I think what Elliot said was 40 trades. You're going to be lucky if you get 40 trades. That's not enough information. 40 trades is a blip. There's not enough information there. No. Nope. But I do get the thought process, and I think the thought process is Paul saying that because market conditions change, it's pointless to go more than 5 years back because those are completely different market conditions. Does that make sense, everyone? Have any of you guys thought that way? Like, why go back 5 years if that was a completely different time? 5 years was, 2019, right? I would argue on the other end of that, right? So with our back testing, we want to see as many market conditions as possible because market conditions repeat, right? And this was a tough lesson I learned, right? You don't know this when you first start trading because you don't know what you don't know. So when I first started trading and testing, I assumed that everything was going to be exactly the same as it was now because I just started trading, right? I've been trading for a few years. Why wouldn't it? But what you see over time is you start seeing ebbs and flows. You start seeing high volatility periods, then low volatility periods, then high volatility periods again, then low volatility periods, then kind of boring summers, then active summers, then different political elements, right? I told you about the Trump tweet era. We're probably approaching another Trump tweet era, even though I don't think he's on Twitter, but he may be back on Twitter because Elon Musk owns Twitter, and I don't know how it works, but I think I spoke about it in the podcast, where you're going to see kind of random just words, and the market will react a certain way. You're going to have periods of war, periods of not war, periods of natural disaster, periods of not like, so market conditions repeat themselves, right? When I first experienced a low volatility period, right? So I started trading in 2000 Forex in 2009, right? So we're coming out of this recession, and like Forex is still brand new and things are booming, right? Again, the ATR back in like 2009 was like, ATRs are good now, but it was like, you're getting like hundreds of pips of movement per day, right? The markets are fruitful, like delivering us delicious fruits each and every day. And then, I think that's going to last forever, by the way. But then we go, and forgive me for forgetting the years, I want to say like 2012. Then we go to 2012, and the markets are sucked dry. The markets are moving like 40 pips a day. Like, you can't get anything, right? So imagine this nice tree that's just dropping like hundreds of pieces of fruit for you every day, and everyone can eat. Plenty of fruit. You miss one, there's more coming, right? And then all of a sudden, this same tree dries up, and it's like 2 pieces of fruit. And now all of a sudden, if you're not there at that precise moment to catch those 2 pieces of fruit, you're screwed. And I'm like, what is this? What is this, right? What is this like period of dryness? And it took me a while to adjust. That's when I started adjusting my targets, right? That's when I went from a 2 target taker to a 1 target taker. Because what I noticed was that my patterns specifically were hitting at the same rate. The market just wasn't moving enough for them to hit target 2s. So I was leaving money on the table shooting for target 2s, because I would take half profit on the ones that hit target 1. Still counts as a win, right? But I would take full losses on my losers. And half profits did not make up for full losses, because patterns they don't win at that high of a percentage, right? These aren't like 80% patterns. These things are winning at 55, 60% of the time, 65 if you're lucky. So I made the adjustment to taking target 1s, because again, there wasn't enough volatility to hit target 2s. So then like things got better, volatility came back. But then it got sucked dry again in like, I want to say 2000, either 14 or 16. It got sucked dry again. But the second time it got sucked dry, I knew how to deal with it, because I've experienced it before. So when you go through different periods in your back testing, it gives you those experience. It allows you to see that, hey, no matter what these market conditions are, my strategy still works, right? I mean, even think about it. Think about like a 4-year, 5-year period. That's one presidential cycle. That's only one presidential cycle. What happens if the market is moving a very specific way because a very specific person is in office? And all of a sudden, when that person gets out of office or the party changes, the markets change their mind and do something else. Well, you don't have that experience in your testing. You've only tested it during one specific cycle. So yeah, it's not nearly enough, no. Now again, if you're a day trader, it's a different story, because again, your frequency is all different. You're not looking necessarily like 4-year periods at a time on day trading. So it's a different game. But yeah, you want to test through different cycles, because although we may not be in the same cycle that we were 5 years ago, you want to have confidence that when that cycle returns, and it always returns, that your strategy can perform during it, or at least you know that it's going to struggle and you may have to kind of make some small adjustments during it. Stuart says, for me, the market conditions come in cycles. You want to go around all of them at least a couple times to see if you can survive. Yeah, again, I don't know how many of you guys have back tested. I've had different back testing periods where like, I feel like it always does is to suck me in. Like I go back like 10, 15 years, right? Usually like 10 years is my starting point unless I need more, right? And like my first like 2 years will be incredible. And I'll be like, Akil, you did it. You did it. You found the magic system, the holy grail. And then I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like, yeah, but I gotta keep testing until I get through these time. And I keep testing, I'm all excited. And then like it sucks like for the next 8 years. You guys ever been there? Like the first 2 years, that was it. All the profits came the first 2 years, and then it sucks for the next 8 years. And then you're like, is this realistic to trade? Is this realistic to trade? But it happens like that sometimes. And I get questions from traders where it's like, hey, I had like 3 great years of backtest results, and then it went dry for 5 years, and then gave me 2 more great years. Now, overall, it was profitable because those 2 great years were really, really, really great, but I'm not sure if I should trade it. And I'm like, well, are you willing to suffer through 5 years of hell in real life? They're like, no, and you probably shouldn't trade it. Unless you have like supplemental systems that can balance it out. But still, I'm not going 5 years with a strategy. I don't care how much money it makes. I'm not going 5 years with a losing strategy. Kick rocks, right? But that's why you want to see it over different cycles. You want to see how consistent it is. It may not perform optimally in all cycles, but it should at least be able to survive, right? It's like those dinosaurs that survived the ice age and whatnot and are still living deep in the ocean. And it's concerning that we know more about space than the ocean, which then makes you think about, if you believe in the bubble theory of the universe, is space really just an ocean? You ever think about that? If space is just the dark part of an ocean on another planet, which is in the bubble of another universe? Freaky if you think about it, guys. Think about it. Research like the bubble universe theory. What if our entire universe is just a bubble in the ocean of another planet within another universe, which is also just a bubble within the ocean? Yep. Think about it. A little weird. So backtesting is a key part of trading. We have many, many, many Trading Coach podcast episodes on backtesting, but this is also a perfect time to do it, right? In December, when the markets are slow, when you probably shouldn't be trading around the holidays, it's the perfect time to invest that free time into your backtesting. If you're someone that doesn't know how to backtest, check out our website, www.tier1trading.com. We have a whole training module on it. So dive in, dig in, learn, and start putting yourself on track to be a successful trader in the near future.